Welcome back to Resilient Journeys, where we explore the power of resilience and the incredible stories of those who have overcome many challenges. I'm your host, Morhia Mote. Thank you for joining us today. Let's dive into another inspiring journey. Today we have here Lori from the Tree of Valor. Lori, welcome.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share our story.
Lori, can you share the inspiring, the inspiration and the journey behind founding the Tree of Valor?
Sure. The short version is just it was one tree created to honor one son that grew into a forest that honors a whole nation. So that's the short version. The other version is I was just a mom who wanted to do something special for my son because he was about to be deployed and he was coming home in October and he loved Christmas. So we glammed out the house for Christmas and we wanted to do something really special for him and something different. So we started researching all of our family who was in the military and started collecting their pictures. And then our friends kind of joined us in that, and we made the photos into wooden mementos. So when he came home, the house was all glammed out, and we had used an artificial tree that year, but we didn't actually have it decorated yet. So because he came home a day early, and he didn't really want to decorate it, and I was sad, and I didn't want to decorate it. But anyway, we had all these wooden mementos just laying all over the dining room table for him to see, and he loved them. So after he left, which was, still long before Christmas, we decided those mementos were going to be our Christmas tree. And it was the most beautiful tree I feel like we ever had. And it turned out after Christmas, he sent us this picture of him and his comrades. They were filthy and gorgeous, and it was just a gorgeous picture of these men just like working so hard, and the sun was setting or rising. But on the bottom of the picture, it said family. So at that moment, I knew that my search for family in the military had immediately changed. And it was like every day, God just kept giving us another opportunity to meet a veteran or like see a veteran on TV. And, there's a book called The Slight Edge, and it talks about how every day doing just one little thing and repeating it every day turns into something amazing. And that's really the epitome of our journey. We had no clue what God was doing at the time. And then, of course, Lexi comes into the picture with her deciding that she is really loving meeting these veterans, and she's missing her brother terribly. So Lexi is in a wheelchair and doesn't speak, but has the loudest spirit you've ever seen. And she decides for Halloween that she wants to be Miss America the Beautiful. Now, people always say, well, how do you know if she doesn't speak? That's a whole nother show. Okay. So we glammed her out in this, she picked out this red dress with sequins and red sequin hat. And every house that had a veteran, she wanted them to have a flag. And she wanted her friends to help her sing the national anthem. So the very first house we go to, wouldn't you know, God is good. And it's a World War II veteran who comes out on his porch. They think they're just getting candy, giving her candy. And instead she's giving them this flag and we're singing. Oh my word. I really need to repost that video. I really do. Like, because at the time the Tree of Valor wasn't, right? It was just nothing. But after that moment of seeing her do that all through the night and seeing people's reaction, I was like, you know what? God must have some kind of plan here. other than us just collecting these pictures. And then the journey just took off from there.
Wow. Wow. What a treasured story. You need to write that down somewhere.
I know we made a really cute video about it like 100 years ago, it feels like. But yeah, we want to do some kind of like, you know, documentary, like a story about the journey of it, you know, because it has been such a beautiful story that only God could have created himself, right? He could have done it, because the things that have happened along the way are just, you would be you would be a bad person if you thought you should take credit for it, you know, and I know better. So I don't.
Sure. That sounds that sounds like it takes a whole team, a whole team.
It does. It's a growing team. So it's definitely a growing, growth is necessary if you want to, you know, it's like if you were planting a forest, right? It doesn't matter how many seeds you planted. If you didn't take care of them, it wouldn't continue to grow. So we definitely are always looking for people to help us to continue to grow the forest. From sea to shining sea is what we say.
I love that. I love that. What key challenges and triumphs have you faced in building the Tree of Valor, and how have they influenced your support for veterans and their families?
Um, the biggest challenges, which aren't are probably the opposite of what the veteran community faces, is that because I'm not a veteran, um, people, I think, feel like, what's her agenda? Like, why is she doing that? Like, what is she trying to get out of that? And that's, I mean, that sounds negative, but if you want me to be honest, that's definitely a challenge for us that um, we just know is there. And through building our board and adding veterans such as Andrew Farr, adding Gold Star families, you know, like yourself, we're hoping that also will help us, because nothing we do really matters if we're not connecting with you and we're not connecting with Marines like Andrew. It's for nothing. So
And you have two veterans on your team, don't you? Amber and Val. Aren't
uh,
they also on your
Amber's,
team?
Amber's not, and Val is. The challenge for us is that we knew that Val's been with us for so long because she's Lexi's nurse, that people see her as Lexi's nurse. They
Sure.
forget she's a veteran. So you really, and the other, it's not really a challenge. I think maybe for the veterans it's a challenge, but even for Val and for other people I know who are veterans who didn't serve in combat, they feel not sad, but they kind of feel bad sometimes that they didn't get to serve in combat, and they don't feel like they did as much. And so I really try to um, stress that what matters to me, obviously, if you serve in combat, that is something I can't even fathom on my best or worst day. Um, but what matters to me just as much is that you are willing to. Whatever, you know, the military gives you as your mission, if you did that mission, then you served a good mission. So Andrew is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart veteran, which just, you know, um, his take on things is a um, different level than anything I could come up with myself. You know, I may feel one thing about something, and then I'll say to him, "Well, how do you feel about this?" And you know, he's very honest, and I'm so grateful that I have asked him, because I'm not seeing it through the lens that if I'm wanting veterans to see the gallery, if I'm wanting them to come to see the trees, you know, going across the country, I have to put this in the lens of the audience that I wanted to be looking at it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And what audience is that?
The number one audience, of course, I would say is a tie. It's the Gold Star families and the veterans, right? They're the same for us because, one of them served with the veteran, the other one lost the veteran. So the loss is for both of them is tremendous. And the veteran himself has maybe left part of himself behind. So this is our way of saying, we got your six. We are not going to forget about you. Our next audience, of course, is America, because America is not going to forget on my watch. So our very first memorial tree, the anniversary of that is coming up on July 30th. And that was our first tree. And every tree has just an amazing story. I mean, I could write a book on just the stories of every tree, literally. But those families, they lost their children in a training accident, a very, very tragic one. But on the world stage, it is not looked at the same as it is for a veteran who was killed in action. And that kind of makes me, it does make me sad, only because it wasn't that warrior's fault how he was taken, right? They had no control over that. They were training for war. And so I wish that it was looked at the same, because the loss of a child is you're losing part of a parent as well, part of a family. And that loss is the same, regardless of how you lost your child. I mean, you still lost them. And maybe I'm wrong, because I'm fortunate enough to have not lost any children. So, but from the tons of people that I've talked to, that's, at the end of the day, your tears are all flowing the same way down. Your head is still hanging down, your heart is down. And that's the truth.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. With my husband and I, when we launched Keep Being Resilient, we did it with the full intention of reaching the Gold Star families, and, specifically families that, to extend to the cousins, the siblings, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, because they're all important. They were all a part of their life. And also with our organization, we do not, how shall I put that? I don't even remember exactly how it's worded, right? But we honor all of the Gold Star families, regardless of the manner of death.
As I feel like should be the normal practice myself.
Yep. And I think it was just a week or maybe 2 weeks ago that Bonnie Carroll from the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors had one of her representatives in there at the Capitol, trying to put the House bill to rewrite that in the Congress statement. So we'll see. Let's hope for that.
And that's important, because I did have a Gold Star mom tell me more recently, actually, her son was killed in action, and we were talking about our Not Your Chair tribute, which has 23 chairs. 22 of them have those we've lost through veteran suicide. The 23rd chair just has a sign on it that says, "This is not your chair. We're keeping you from sitting in it." And I was asking her about, the differences and people's feelings about it. And she said, the thing is, I knew that my son was going off to war. And I knew you're never prepared, but she said, I knew what I signed up for. But she said, to think that your child goes off and does that and makes it home, and then you can't help them once they get here, and then you lose them, She said that to me is just completely tragic, and I would never trade places with those parents, because
Sure.
you know, one of the things we say is, you know, they went off and saved us, and then they came home and we couldn't save them. It's terrible.